agreed to come here today to present his papers, then I was just absolutely overwhelmed. And I'm so grateful to you that you could come, particularly on a day like today. And this is just a little gift from the Institute. I should have brought a TAFE umbrella in there too. And Tony's actually going to stay around for today, which is even more wonderful, and will be a part of the workshops and the feedback from that this afternoon. So you'll be hearing more from Tony later. Okay, could we have another round of applause? I'm now going to hand over to Mark Worthington to introduce our next speaker.
Yes, thank you. First of all, I'd like to correct something that Barry Bell said. It was, I think, a bit of a mistake when he said that there was many people involved in organizing this conference. Well, it wasn't. Lorraine, from writing the submission to getting the funding and to organizing the whole day, is the one who has been responsible for it. So thank you very much. Now, our next speaker is a young fellow that I have followed from afar since he came to TAFE in 2000 to do his senior certificate of matriculation. Jamie would be somebody who would have learning difficulties and educational disadvantages. You know how we would describe it. I don't know how Jamie would describe it, but those are the terms that we would use for it. He managed to get through that certificate quite successfully through hard work and determination. He has since gone on to university, where he's just 3 subjects short of getting his Bachelor of Science degree, which is a major, major achievement. He's currently working on a research project for the university on invasive weeds, which is, once again, another great accomplishment. And he also sings and plays drums in a very successful upcoming band called Downshift. Now, on a personal note, I would just like to add that we're all in the welfare area of some type, and we all work with people. And we all are getting more and more cutbacks, more and more paperwork, more and more this, more and more that. It makes our job difficult. And probably, like me, you throw up your hands every now and again and say, what the hell am I here for? Well, the reason we are here is for people like Jamie. Okay. Jamie?
He just introduced me, but I'm 25 years old. I've got 2 children, a boy and a girl. And what I would like to do is just basically take you through a journey of what I went through time as going through the public school, high school, TAFE and university system, and how pre and post diagnosis of dyslexia and ADD helped me to assess my problems and to realise that yes, it isn't because I'm lazy and stupid that I wasn't getting these marks. It was because I do have a disability in the area of English. So to start, basically, I'll set the stage. Growing up in our family, there wasn't much emphasis on reading and writing. We were more of a TV type of family. We basically watched shows every afternoon, and quite frankly, for as far as I can remember, I've always disliked reading and writing and stuff. Maths not too bad, but couldn't really maintain the concentration to keep doing it. I didn't really start getting disruptive or into trouble until around year 4, as I can remember. And what basically stemmed this was I didn't want to look stupid in front of people. So if I was asked to do a particular task in front of people, then it was like, as Tony said, I would mask it and become the class clown, try and just make a couple of jokes and take the emphasis off me pretty much. So this started to gradually get worse through public school up until year 6, when I had been suspended, well, not only 3 times, but been suspended 3 times. And I had I had probably about 3 counsellors in that time who were trying to understand my behavioural problems and trying to work out what it was. used to sit there and think to myself, oh, this is just an excuse to get out of class. I get out in the morning, I don't have to, I just agree with what these people want me to say, and I'll get some lunch in the afternoon, and everything's good. So I didn't really listen to them or take any notice, and I always just thought, oh, it's just them being funny, it's just like parents, like my mum. Going into year 7, I wasn't as sociable because I went to a different high school than a lot of my friends, and a lot of the friends that I had in public school were the ones that I tried to act up to and act the fool to and kind of keep a reputation and not learn anything pretty much. In year 7 that kind of faded in year 7 because it was a new institution and I didn't really know anybody. So basically I kind of went through that first year. I was in the lowest class, mind you. But I went through that year pretty much not knowing anybody, and that was the best year I actually had because I didn't be any class clown or do anything wrong. The next year after that was when problems started to appear, and I started to become popular, and it started the disinterest thing that Tony was going on about was a major thing. I didn't have no interest in learning, like especially hard tasks like art, music and stuff. I could do them easy, and I didn't have to worry at all about doing them. Like you take me into one of them classes, I was happy to go to it. English, on the other hand, I found a bit more difficult, and because of that, I was disinterested and didn't want to do it. So then, basic skills I started to fall behind in, basically, and that kind of snowballed up until year 10 when I found myself kicked out of Dapto High with 22 suspensions, and they finally said, look, we know you've got some good in you. I've heard this a lot of times. You got some good in you, but 22 suspensions, you're only allowed to have 4 a semester without being expelled. We're going to have to let you go. I was really keen on getting money from Austudy at that time, and I didn't really care about so much the education because I just thought that's what old people made you do. I didn't see the worth, at all. I didn't see no value in getting educated. I just thought if you get this certificate, then you've got access to this job, and if you've got this certificate, then you've got access to better jobs. You didn't really see the link between actually learning something, and you would know knowledge is power, as I say. Basically, when I got kicked out there, I got the realisation of, I'm not going to get my certificate. What happened was I went over to Cannabooka High, who incidentally had a record of being I've never even been there. The reason was just from trying to sneak into their discos and stuff and stuff like that. But yeah, and they said no straight away. No, we're not going to take you at all. My mum wasn't living with me at the time. She lived in Sydney, and I don't blame her. I was a bit of a, kind of dominant child. I used to swear at her and try and be dominant to her all the time, which when you grow up is wrong, but that's the way it was. So anyway, I lived there and I by myself, and so I had to approach the school by myself. I went up there, principal just said no way. Then what happened was a teacher was friends with the Cannabooka High principal from Dapto High, and it just happened to be that was my science teacher that because of science I like, I really excelled in that subject, and I got like first in the class in year 7, and he gave me a reference pretty much, and that allowed me a gateway in there. After 2 weeks, mind you, of constant interviews every day, he finally allowed me to go there. When I went there, I noticed a loophole in the system that allowed me not to actually go every day. They had what you call one kind of roll call in the morning, as opposed to Dapto High that had a roll call every class, so you had to stay there. But at Cannabooka High, I didn't have to stay there, and I noticed this straight away, and I left. Every morning I would leave, and I was becoming more sociable, and I got a girlfriend, and I wanted to hang out with her a bit more, and I just wanted that certificate. Like I said, I didn't know the value in actually education itself. I just wanted that certificate. That was my goal. Got to the end of the year, and they caught on to me actually. And they said to me, "There's no way with this many days off that you will be able to get your year 10 certificate." So then I knew that straight away I was going to get in trouble with Austudy, not getting no money anymore, which I love to get. So then I realised, I'm going to have to come back, and I'm going to have to put the effort in and just not talk to nobody and try and do it. But it was hard when I was in that social period of my life. Just happened to be that at the end of the year when I repeated, I was a month into it, with 10 days off, mind you, again. some reason, the Board of Studies sent my Year 10 by mistake. The principal come up to me and said, look, Jamie, I know you're doing well, you aren't being disruptive, you haven't been suspended from here, you have done what you told me. My only reason was because I was never there, but yeah, he said, if you want, you can have your Year 10 certificate and leave. I took it when I was out of the door. I took that on, and then there was a pretty, in that period I started to rebel a lot, and I started getting in trouble with the law, going to court. I went to court over 26 times, and got incarcerated for 6 months, but I got out of that by appeal when I knew, oh my God, they aren't going to allow me to keep doing this. They've actually done something. So I kind of said to myself, well, if this is the end of the line, I can't keep doing this anymore. Anyway, it wasn't until my girlfriend got pregnant that I started to think about stuff. I never used to think about nothing. I used to just get up in the morning and do what I had to, and if something come up, then that come up. I never used to plan, do anything like that. But then I found myself starting to think about a child, my child that was coming up. I never used to think about anybody else but me. And it was weird actually. And then I started to, by this time I'd had a lot more counsellors at free. I had 4 counsellors at that day. I went to in-search camps, Stewart House, all these other things to try and see if I've been tinkered with or whatever. And I used to go to these things just because I don't want to do the work, basically. And I never acknowledged any disability at all. I just thought, this place everybody's just being funny about this. I'll just take it for a road pretty much. But then when I had my first child, I realised, I don't know nothing. Filling out Centrelink forms and stuff was a task. Honestly, I'd sit there and it would take me an hour to do them. Then I was writing out diaries for my son, I was trying to do a diary every day. And I realised, God damn, my writing is atrocious. Like a girlfriend was trying to read it back to me, she's going, what's this and this and that. And I was thinking to myself, oh my God, I've just been a boilermaker and a labourer pretty much all the time. And I thought, if I don't get educated or not, it was when it dawned on me, I thought, well, I'm going to be stuck in these dead-end jobs and I'm not going to get nowhere. And then I thought, I'm filling in a dole form every week. Why not get my study, go study, get a certificate? Who cares about the loan? Because I didn't really worry about that so much. I just thought I'd get the certificate, that way my opportunities up. So anyway, in 1998, I came to TAFE to do matriculation because I wanted to get it done in 1 year. When I started, I was shocked to realise that even though that I wanted to study, it was very, very hard. And because I didn't know some of the basic building blocks of the study curriculum, and I didn't notice my disability. So I just thought, these people do it, I should be able to do it. So, and I'd get frustrated and just think, I'm just stupid, who cares? I'm just going to have to excel in the things that I can do, and hopefully by probability I will get by. So what happened was I went through the first year, and basically at the end of it, I really tried hard. I didn't really commit no hours to tutorials or anything like that, but I tried hard, and I was shocked to realise that I only got averaged under 50, and that was trying me harder. So I just put it down. God, you're a silly man, Then my plan bombed out on me at the end of the year when I found out that I wouldn't be able to get my year 11 and 12 in 1 year because I was too young. So I realised, unfortunately, that I'd have to go back. But I realised that at the TAFE, it wasn't like the school system. Like the teachers wanted to be more friends with you, and then you could talk to them like an adult kind of thing. And I really enjoyed company, so I thought, I'll go again and I'll just try hard. I'll do the same subjects basically. And then, hopefully, because I've done them a year and I'm doing them 2 years in a row, this stuff should stick in my mind. I should pass. Unfortunately, not unfortunately, that was the case. I did actually pass at the end of the year, but some major turning points happened in this period, which was 1999, and that was that the first one was basically I started doing computer studies. And when I started doing computer studies, I realised the power of word processing and how that could help with my making my writing legible, and it really helped me because I was lazy as well, it helped me when I was doing first, second and third drafts. I didn't really have to do them, I just excelled a lot more than any other time. Then there was another turning point, which was my English teacher at the time, which for the first year gave me a lot of help, and we became pretty good friends. And by the end of by the start of the first year, she said, "Look, you know, I don't want to say nothing bad to you. I don't want to make you demoralised or nothing. But have you ever seen anybody about a learning disability? Because you have telltale signs of dyslexia, and maybe this is holding you back." This is great, she's making up excuses for me so I can get through. I thought, yeah, you go ahead, make excuses for me, and then I'll reap the rewards, get my certificate, and I'll be out there. It so happened to be that what happened was the TAFE offered me like all this support and assistance. And at the start I didn't really realise the worth of it, and I do realise it now. But the thing was that they gave me extra tutorial hours in the morning, and then I was to see a counsellor every week, and plus they said that I could have a scribe in the end of the year exams, which took the pressure off me, because I thought, well, if everything goes very bad, then I still have that option, and maybe I can get past like my bad English, which I still blamed on just being stupid, nothing what any counsellor said. I just thought that was an excuse. Actually doing these things, I started learning like little tricks of the trade, like what everybody would know, like the vowels and consonants. I didn't know none of this stuff. And to learn that just in 1 2-hour counselling thing, it opened the floodgates for so much more. And I noticed that I could spell and write all these things. Like the concentration and attention was still there. I still lacked in that, and I kept veering off on the different trains of thought every 5 seconds. But that really helped me to get one step above on my dyslexia, and that kind of made me gain motivation to go again. I thought, oh, you know, this is really working, putting in this extra time. There was another thing that they had, was called a support called the ILC, which had tutors in there for science, English, maths and stuff. And because I could never study by myself, I always could study in front of somebody, because I always gained motivation if I was talking to somebody. If I was by myself, I could not keep concentration, but if I was in front of somebody, I could try and act like I wanted to impress them. So I tried extra hard to try and do that, and I realised that worked really well in making me learn a lot more. So anyway, by the end of the year, I was shocked to learn that I got really high marks relative to the year before, and I put it down to that was the change in my methodology for studying, and the help and support that I was getting was actually helping. So from that day on, I still didn't believe I had a disability. I went through the next year, basically, because I learned the vowels and learned all these like nouns and verbs and all these little tricks of the trade. They really helped me. So the next year I didn't get offered the same sort of counselling or nothing, and I was working as a duty supervisor at the Illawarra Hotel, and that made me kind of veer off the study kind of track and start to go back into the social kind of side of it. It wasn't too after that, like I was going really good in my HSC, like I had heaps of marks, but the second year that I was in HSC, they come up to me. I got in the top 10% of the state for computer studies, mind you, but the lady come up and she said, oh, you can't get your limited UAI again because the computer studies class you did is a category B. So then I found myself having to go back another year to repeat it, and I was kind of demoralised, thinking, oh God, how long is this going to take? You know, it only takes people 2 years to normally do that HSC. So I didn't really get demoralised, but I started to lose interest in studying and stuff. I just thought, this is just not working for me. I'm not getting to where I need to. I didn't have my year 12 by that time. But then anyway, things worked out, and I ended up coming back for the 3rd year. By that time I had enough credits to accumulate 11 credit points, and then I could get the full HSC and UAI, not the limited UAI, which I think was a better sequence of events than getting it in 1 year anyway, because I learned a lot more. But anyway, at the end of that year, because I was working as a duty supervisor, I didn't put in half as much effort as in the 2nd year, and my marks showed that. And I made the distinction on, God, put extra time in. I seem to get the marks. Don't put the time in, I don't get the marks. I was thinking, oh, okay, well that's what I'm going to do. I went over to the uni, they let me in, thank God. I said to myself at the start of the year, I said, that's it, I'm going to buck down, I'm going to do everything that I need to pass these tests and get through. Unfortunately, the system over there is a lot more harsh than over here. It wasn't as user-friendly, shall I say. When I got over there, you were just basically a student, and if you didn't do what you had to adequately, then there was no scribes or any kind of extra help for you or anything. It was just you either fail or don't. And I noticed that this kind of ruthlessness over there was like, whew, I didn't like it at all, and I was kind of worried. And then going through the first year, I did four subjects the first semester and 4 the next semester, and I was very overwhelmed, and it was very hard. I found myself having hardly no sleep at all. But what happened was, one major thing to come out of it was, I might not have got support over there, but what I did get was, I had the ILC tutorials available here, and I thought, well, they allowed me to enrol in the ILC again, so I had the tutorial hours, extra ones, and plus my English teacher that had been through everything with me from the start and has been pretty much a mentor, pretty much helping me to get through difficult kind of times. She offered to help me again in her own time, and I know time is money, and you know, time is hard to come by for some people, and to give you help like that, I've got to say thanks, you know, it did get me through a lot of things. But it wasn't until the end of first year that I got really low marks, but I really tried hard. I thought, God, I tried my hardest. I spent every waking minute. I didn't go out. I didn't socialise. I didn't go. No Saturday nights. No clubbing. No nothing. I just the typical nerd. I stayed at home. I just done all my work. But then to my avail at the end of the year, like I realised that I was only getting around 50s again. Thinking there's got to be something wrong here. I remember talking to a student one time. This is some of the objective kind of evidence that made me realise that I did have a disability. One of my friends who I was teaching something, like because this happened a lot. I didn't know the context that much. I was teaching a lot of student stuff, but then when we get the marks, I wouldn't pass, and they wouldn't. I was thinking, God, there's got to be something going on here. And there was one time when we did a test, and the bloke that I spoke to before for the test didn't know the answer. Like we had the question beforehand, and he didn't know the answer. And what happened was I spent about 20 minutes just explaining the answer. And then when we went into the test, it was a written test, and you had to have an illustration as well. And you got 50-50 on both the picture and the written part. Me, as soon as I got there, because I'm good at art and I like doing it, I started doing a picture, nearly an A4 size picture with this time to writing up the top. But then I was shocked to realise that Dave, my mate, he had done like 3 pages of writing up. You could have got the easy 50 by just drawing a picture. He said, I can't draw. He said, I'm not good at drawing at all. I cannot do it. I'd rather write than do that. Whereas I was opposite, and it kind of made me realise, well, people do have their advantages and disadvantages, cans and cans not. And I thought, well, maybe what them counsellors and everybody was saying about this learning disability is true. Then the straw that broke the camel's back was pretty much, one of my lecturers came up to me and said, look, Jamie, you come and speak to me all the time, because I used to hound the lecturers on their doors all the time, you know, asking them all questions. He said, you know, I know you know the answers to most of these things. It's a shame that when I'm reading your writing, it doesn't look like that. You don't communicate it across to me. He goes, it seems like the same as what the English teacher said. He goes, from my experience, this evidence suggests that you've got dyslexia, or you know, you put words around the wrong way and leaving out certain words and rearranging them and all this. He said that's pretty much telltale signs of that. He said, I'm not an expert or nothing, and that's where he left it. I said, is there any kind of help or any kind of thing that could help me for the end of the year or nothing like that? He said, no, there basically isn't. So I was glad that I had the help here. But what happened was now I finally realised that yes, I do have a disability, and it might not be that I'm stupid. And so from that day on, what I did was I dropped the class to allow me to have more time, because one of the things that I found very limiting was time. I didn't have enough time. And what I wanted to do, what my plan of action was, well, fair sure, then I'd get my English teacher to read over them, and then I'd do them again, and I'd just spend a lot of time, so none of this first, second, third draft, I'm talking like 10 drafts, and I'd finally get them perfect so then I could maximise all my scores, so to buffer me against when I went into the exam for when my disabilities acted up. Like when I tried to write something, I knew I could write it, but it just, even when I read something that I'd read, I think, I bet you that is perfect, that sounds awesome. Then I read it again and go, what drugs are you on? And that's what I used to think, and these are some of the realisations that I've come to. And from that day on, I started getting distinctions, and I was thinking, this is great. I've finally worked out the basis for this uni, and I think that I might get through. For a lot of time, I was demoralised. I was thinking, there's no way I'm going to be able to get through this. But then I started to see the light and started to see that yes, I will be able to get through this. And by having that extra assistance and help and everything, and then having the motivation from myself to do it, it allowed me to get through and do this. And now I'm averaging distinctions at the moment. And what I realised was the main thing that I got to realise out of it was I'm going to have to work on the disability. As much as I hate it, as much as, the things that I can't prevent, like the ADD and the jumping of trains of thought, just jump across from time to time, the lack of motivation, lack of confidence and everything like that went with it. I knew that I wasn't going to be able to come back, but the things that I could overcome, like learning how to spell, read and write, learning them little tiny units to help me crawl before I walk, pretty much. I knew that I could learn that, so that's what I started to do. I started to attack the things that I could, and then the things that I couldn't, I was just going to have to deal with and have to go with it. And it is pretty demoralising to know that, like for instance this year, I had a pretty good year. I got two distinctions and a credit at the end. But that's funny that 40% of the end of year test for the whole three of them were the end of year essays, and they were free essays and spontaneous write them out. Because I've been writing on a computer most of the time, I'm pretty much getting used to writing on a keyboard, and my legibility isn't getting much better. I have tried to do some techniques to build that up, but anyway, I went into the exams this year with no less than 49 out of 60 before I went in. And then it's pretty demoralising to know that just because of your disability that you know the contents and that you just can't express it in the way that society wants you to with English and communication like that. So that made me, I'm glad that I've got through all these hurdles and stuff, and I've realised what I have, but I just like to stress the importance of how important it was for me to finally accept the disability and to work with it rather than against it. And that's allowed me to excel in the field that I've got. I know that I'm doing science and I shouldn't be tested on my disability for English, but that's just the way the assessment system is, and I'm going to have to deal with it. But the thing is, I wonder about, I've got a lot of mates that I used to be mates with, I call them acquaintances now, but the main thing is, a lot of them, I wonder about if some of them had disabilities, and maybe because they didn't get diagnosed with it, I wonder if I didn't get diagnosed or if I didn't have the support and assistance that I had, would I have went the way I have, or would I have seen the light and got to where I am now? So these are questions that I ask myself, and that I worry that I think that a really important thing for counsellors, lecturers, teachers and that is to realise people's cans and can'ts, and then to work with them and realise that people are all different. Everybody's different, and you have to deal with people not with just a paint, just one paintbrush, paint everybody the same picture. Everybody's got their cans and can'ts. Now there's another thing that I realised. I realised that the TAFE offered a lot more assistance than the university, and I've seen some discrepancies over there. Like fair enough, I was bad at English, and it was a bad thing, but then I couldn't see the difference between myself and an international student who was bad at English. I thought, well, that's the same thing. We're both bad at English. Why are they allowed to have special consideration on their writing, and they're allowed to take in translation dictionaries and scribe and stuff, and I'm not worried straight away put their hand up and said, yes, we'll offer you this help, we'll get you this, we'll help you, and that gave me motivation to keep going. Whereas if I didn't have the support that I had offered to me through my uni at TAFE, because I still had support ongoing all through my uni degree, if I wouldn't have had that and that would have stopped, I feel that I wouldn't have got to where I am, because there was a lot of times when I was really stressed out and I didn't think that I would make it at all. Like, I remember shaking in bed before like exams, the worst kind of thing I wouldn't wish it upon anybody, you know. But I got through it and I'm glad, and I just wonder about those people that do have the IQ, do have the ability, but then kind of just get demoralised and think, well, yes, I am stupid, and then they give up. And that's pretty much the end of what I wanted to say. So.
I've got a gift I'd like to give to Jamie, but I think we all have to acknowledge his tenacity to get through the system and where he's at, and have the courage to come here today and to tell us his story. Could we please stand? We're going to have lunch, but if you think there's such a thing as a free lunch, you're wrong, because over lunch you're going to have to